You're listening to How I Sell, a podcast built for early career sales professionals. You'll hear stories, best practices, and guidance from top sales leaders on what it takes to become a sales superstar. Today's episode is made possible by Ramped Careers. Ramped is on a mission to build the next generation of workforce-ready talent. Thanks, everyone. Joining us today is Matt Grossbard. Matt is the Director of Sales at Electric.ai, senior leadership roles at Single Platform and Livestream. Thank you, Matt, so much for joining us today.
Yeah, appreciate you guys having me on.
Matt, I know we had the opportunity to catch up with you a little bit before, but for those that don't know who you are, who is Matt Grossbard?
Yeah, so grew up in a small Irish Catholic town in Rockland County named Pearl River, and loved sports my whole life. Was especially drawn to basketball. Played basketball in high school for 4 years. Had a great high school career and was fortunate enough to go and play in college at a school named Roger Williams up in Rhode Island. Played there for 4 years. Learned a lot of incredible lessons. Have two incredible parents. Have a awesome younger sister. My sister's a nurse. My dad was a police officer for 30 years. So definitely from a blue collar town and a blue collar family. I'm very proud of that for sure. Now I reside in New York City with my fiance and our dog Leo.
That's amazing. I love the sports background. I think that you're understating your sports accomplishments a little bit. I've done a little bit of digging, and it looks like you've earned all kinds of honors at high school and in college also. One of the things that I'm kind of curious to hear is all those years you've played sports. How has that translated professionally for you?
Yeah, for sure. I think for me, I was never the biggest or the fastest, right? I think what I had was this unwavering desire to be the best person in the gym at all times. And I knew in order to achieve that, that I had to be in the gym more than everybody else, right? Because that wasn't a natural capabilities that I had, right? I didn't have a 40-inch vertical, couldn't, run past somebody. So, I think that when I think about what sports taught me, first off, I think it taught me that I love to win and I hate more than anything to lose. That's whether it's a game of pickup, whether it's a game in front of a packed gym, or whether it's who can tie their shoes faster, right? That never mattered. I wanted to beat you or whoever else, right? And I think that when I think about how that relates to sales and my professional life, right? That's what sales is, right? It's setting a goal and doing everything in your power for 30 days or for a quarter, or for a year, right? To get to that place. And, I think that's the main lesson that I learned from sports, was that you got to do what other people don't want to do to win when it's not God-given, right? I think the other thing is just like the work ethic piece of it. Mm-hmm. Even when I started my career in sales at Single Platform, I was one of the last people in my training class to make a sale. I definitely struggled more than others, but I had this desire to get there, and I think hard work's a skill set. I think it's something that can absolutely be taught and learned over time. And I think that when you combine somebody who hates to lose and loves to win and is willing to put in the hard work to get there, you get really good athletes, but you also can get really, really good, sales professionals and things like that.
That's incredible. Love the competitive spirit there, and I'm not sure whether you remember all of the great games that you had been a part of, but if we could go back in time, 2011, 2012 season, your game against the Coast Guard, 24 points. How did you feel going in? Did it involve the same level of preparation? Because it looks like you've kind of leveled up that game and did really well. Do you remember, how you went in preparing for that game or any parts of the game? I'd love to kind of hear these stories.
Really did your research, huh? That's an archive one. Yeah, I mean, look, I think that you prepare for every game the same, right? You have your preseason, you have your hard practices, you have an easy practice, you have a walkthrough the day of. I was somebody who would do walkthrough and then would want to stay and get like another 150, 200, jump shots up, shoot some free throws, get some training, go back, have something to eat, come back to the gym, get another 50 or 100 shots up before, right? So my assistant coaches loved me, but they also hated me because I was, hey, I need you to come and rebound, right? Rebound and pass so I get my shots up. So, games like that, I think that when, it's a corny statement, but when like opportunity meets preparation, right? Some nights you're just going to have that. You're going to have those 30-point, 28-point games. You're also going to have nights where you shoot 3 for 10, right? And things don't go so well, but always was fun when it felt like whenever you had the ball in your hands that you were going to score, and the basket looks like like an ocean, right? But yeah, those are great moments and great memories, and I think it's something that I was very fortunate to have a lot of nights like that in high school. I definitely have a couple in college as well, but those are nice things that as you get a little bit older, you can think about those great memories, and as we get even older, those are things that you have film of and you could show your kids one day and things like that. So definitely cool.
That's amazing. Everything that you've mentioned about what has made you a good basketball player, you mentioned a bunch of things, right? One is just competitiveness, determination, working harder than everybody else, but also being pragmatic and knowing that there are some days, even if you do all of the things that you have to do, you may not see results for reasons that are beyond your control. And some days you just crush it. To me, all of those seem like the perfect attributes for someone that wants to pursue a career in sales, quite honestly, compared to most other professions. But did you know, graduating, with looks like you were formally trained in marketing, did you have a clue? Did you kind of know that that's where you'll end up?
That marketing degree is a little bit of a stretch, I think. I had no idea. I know a lot of people come on the podcast and say, when I was 5 years old, I was selling lemonade on the street corner. Like when I was in college, I was looking to make a buck, right? And I got an internship with a iced tea and lemonade company in the area, and they gave me like a pack of iced tea and a leaky cooler, and I walked gas station to gas station and door to door. And I mean, that's cold calling, right? And basically tried to get these people to buy iced tea and lemonade from me. I'd have like my little Dixie cups. I'd give them a little taste, right? If they liked it, I'd say, hey, how do we make a deal, right? I had no idea what I was doing. But I got called in one day and they said, hey, we want to send you out with so-and-so. You're doing really well. Everybody else seems to be struggling a little bit. And they showed me like some crazy chart, and I had sold like 300 cases and the next person had sold like 2. Right. And I was like, what am I doing? They're like, what are you doing differently? I was like, I don't really know. I figured out what happened is that everybody was their own boss for the most part. I got up at 8 and I worked till 6. Everybody else kind of like went to a store and then like headed home for the day. Right. So I don't think that I knew I was good at sales. I think I just knew that I worked hard, and that was like a thing. Right. I was sitting in my college house like my senior year, no idea what I wanted to do. And, I was very lucky to have people that were trying to point me in the right direction. At that point, I think like most seniors in college, I was worried about like going out and having fun more than anything else. I was scrolling through Twitter and a girl that I went to college with, who is still having a great sales career, her name's Nicole Papasergio, had a tweet that said like New York City dream job. And then I clicked on the link, and it was talking about how if you're high energy and competitive and you like something about Nerf guns, right? And, a great atmosphere. And it was for like a sales leadership role. And I remember texting her and be like, hey, this sounds fun. This sounds great. Like maybe this would be something I'm good at. She laughed at me and was like, you're definitely not a sales manager, but we can get you an interview for like an AE role, right? Mm-hmm. That's how I got my job at Single Platform. I walked in the first day at Single Platform. I got there they started at 9. I got there at like 7 a.m. because I was taking the train in from Pearl River and I didn't know what I was doing. And I walked in and I remember his name was Wiley Cirilli, but our CEO and founder, it was like all dark except like his office light was on in the back corner. I walked in and I saw like hundreds of phones. I was like, what is this? Like, I didn't even know I was doing phone sales. That's the truth. I didn't even know it was phone sales. My cousin, who I look up to a ton, his name's Larry, and Larry always worked in like pharma sales, and he was always telling me stories about going to games and dinners, and that's what I thought I was getting into. And I walked in the first day, and they said, hey, you're going to make 200 cold calls a day. And I said, whoa. But I fell in love with it real fast, and thank goodness. Thank goodness for good timing.
When did it all click, the whole calling on the phone system, right? I'm sure the first, I was just curious about when the whole cold calling success get to you? When did you know that you were built for it? I'm sure the first week must have sucked.
Single platform had this, and for those who don't know, Single Platform was acquired by Constant Contact like 2 years after basically inception. Basically we gave restaurants, small businesses their ability to put menus or their list of services on sites like a Yahoo, Yelp, right, TripAdvisor, and basically manage it all from one spot. It's an incredible service and an incredible company with a lot of great people. I was chosen to like do a read aloud of like the script, and it was a hyper transactional sale, like one call close. I did a good job on like the test reading, thank goodness, because the next day I got chosen to go out and do like our certification, and I bombed it. Like my slides weren't matching up with my pitch. I like panicked. I inevitably ended up like hanging up the phone, walking back into the room and being like, I don't know what happened. And they let me try it again. But even after that, like objection handling, I struggled with. And I think that what happened for me was that I bought into the idea. I drank Kool-Aid, right? I was like, I'm going to work hard. I'm going to do all these things. But for me, I had to remember, like, this is a job. I got to take this real serious. I got to take this as seriously as I took hoops, right? And I didn't get it really until like 2 months in. I was very fortunate. I had great mentors who are some of my best friends now. Guys like Chris Thompson, my first manager. Adam Liebman was the VP of sales, another one of my very good friends. A guy by the name of Matt Bress helped me with some training stuff. So I had these guys like dragging me along. Until I figured it out, and so incredibly fortunate and lucky that I had them. But I would say that it clicked, probably, a month and a half, 2 months in, which I know sounds fast, but in that sale, that was slow, right? People were making a sale a day every day. I was struggling to make one a week for in the beginning, and eventually just through like pure. If everybody made 200 calls, I made like 250. If everybody's talk time was at 200 minutes, I was at 300 because I realized I needed more swings at the plate to get the same number of hits. And eventually, if you do something enough, you get better than everybody else faster. And once it clicked, then I started to pour a little bit of gasoline on the fire.
I remember the old, I think it was a marketing video that you had at Single Platform that was something about the training program and maybe somebody making like a putt to seal their training program, something like that, and how cool it was to look at the whole team rally around all of the salespeople there, and everybody was so excited. I remember watching that and being like, "Wow, this company is freaking awesome."
It was a lot of fun, man. We had a great time, and we worked so hard. But the culture that was built there taught me a lot about how to build a culture, for lack of a better term, and how to build the team and how to keep people motivated and engaged and how to get people to care. I think that's like a big part of sales leadership. Is like, you got to get people who are bought in and give a shit. And if they don't, it's really hard to get them excited.
And so, and that's awesome. So you took that learning, the hustle, the determination, you crushing it on the phones, treating it like you did when you played basketball, and you clearly did well with it and got promoted. How was it like getting promoted from IC to team lead and, managing a team?
Yeah. So at Single Platform, everything's so fast there, right? It moves hyperspeed. I got promoted to a manager role, which was like the most coveted thing for an IC, right? Like, when we think about sales today, and something like electric, we have people that, hey, I'm an individual contributor. I want to be an IC forever. And that's completely normal. And they do an incredible job and they make a lot of money doing that. At Single Platform, it was like, that was the step, right? Where it was like, if you're not going to become an IC, like eventually you got to transition out of this like hyper transactional sale and go somewhere else if you're not going to get to a management role. So for me, I remember everybody wanted to be a manager. So it wasn't like you had two people who would apply, right? Everybody that was there for a year wanted to throw their hat in the ring. So for me, it was about, I did a bunch of stuff that put myself in a position to get there, whether it was helping out with new hires or training or whatever it was. But the transition from, hey, I just need to worry about myself and what I need to do to get to my number, to what my role was doing all of the hiring, doing all of the training, and then managing people in their first 3 months was what my first job was as a manager. Yeah, man, it's a little different. right? And you're dealing with personalities and human beings, you learn a lot fast. That is for sure in that role. I think that people sometimes struggle with the ability to manage people that they sat next to a day before. Now all of a sudden I'm in charge of your number, right? And I want you to do things a certain way. One of the biggest lessons that I learned is that management's not cookie cutter. You can't talk to everybody the same way. You can't treat everybody the same way. And if you're gonna go in with that mentality, you're probably gonna fail, or you're going to not give the best version of yourself to every individual on your team. And that's kind of the approach that I took. But again, I'm 23 at the time. I'm running basically half of the sales floor with 20, 30 SDRs at a time, flowing in and out. And I was so fortunate to have incredible people around me to tell me when I messed up, to tell me when things were going well. And if it wasn't for them, I don't think I would have been able to get that done.
And that's awesome. And it's important to know, that is a tough transition. So it's one I made myself back in the day at Groupon, getting promoted into management at 24 and now managing. At the time I was managing 50-year-olds who are outside sales reps. And I'm thinking like, oh my God, what's happening here? So I can empathize with that. It's wild. What were some of the specific challenges you faced as an early manager, and how did you overcome those?
Yeah, I think it's for me, being someone who is like fully bought in, right, and like guzzle the Kool-Aid, right, and work really hard and try to get people excited. Listen, you gotta acknowledge sometimes that, and I struggled with this at first, that like not everybody's like that, and that doesn't mean that they're not going to be successful. You might go this way, they might go that way. You guys are going to end up in the same place. So I think that idea of like, hey, management's not cookie cutter, came from me messing up, and for me trying to get everybody to do it the way that I wanted them to do it versus hearing them out, understanding them, and say, hey, this is the process we're going to run. Right. This is the play we're going to run for sure. No questions asked, but like, it's okay if you don't want to stand up and clap after you create a meeting. Right. And if you want to do a backflip after a meeting, go for it, man. Right. Like just letting people be themselves and crafting your management style to make sure that you're helping them win, because that's what it's about. Right. And I think that for young salespeople who are thinking about getting into management, like understand you'll probably make more money as an individual contributor. And you're probably going to have to work harder as a manager. But the feeling for me of helping somebody get to their number and smiling, like just talking about it, like getting somebody to get to a place that they didn't think they could get to, like, that's really cool, and when I look back at like people who I trained at SP, 5 years, 6 years later, I'm at Electric now and doing something totally different, but I can see somebody that I trained as an SDR who's now a sales manager at company A or B. That's cool, and I am somebody who I was always liked to be in a position of leadership, right? When I played baseball as a little kid, I always wanted to be the pitcher because like that was the guy, I stunk, but I wanted to be the guy. In basketball, I always somehow, some way related, like the point guard has the ball in his hands the most. So I was a point guard, right? And, for whatever it is, I like that, hey, I'm going to make a decision here. I'm going to make a call and we're going to go from there. But it is, you learn a lot fast for sure.
It truly sounds like the formative years of your sales career were spent at amongst the best possible places with the most supportive team. I think that's really, really lucky and fortunate. And, Single Platform obviously had such great success and you're around such great people. What were some of the takeaways for our audience, some of the key takeaways that you learned there that you've brought with you for the rest of your career?
Yeah. So we actually on a blackboard had a bunch of like values written down. One of the things that we always used to say is that like, we understand that this job is hard. We also understand that success is a choice and we're going to choose success every day. Something like that. It's just your mindset that you go into the workplace with every day. Accountability, holding each other accountable. I'm okay with one of my reps today challenging me and asking me something, because if they don't think that I'm giving them 150%, how on earth am I supposed to ask them to give me 150%? That's not fair, you know. And I think things like that. I think from a more like strategic standpoint, right, you learn about things like the importance of prospecting and cold calling and effort, you know, at a company like that. Single platform was a place that if you were willing to work harder than everybody else, you could be more successful, right? And there was a couple of unicorns in there that would be just incredible anywhere. You know, I learned a lot about culture, and like what makes up a good team. I learned a lot about hiring, who's a good person to join the team. And maybe just because they're somebody who's absolutely hit 155% of their number everywhere they've ever gone, doesn't mean they're the right fit, right? The movie Miracle, right? I'm not looking for the best team. I'm looking for the right team. And I think that all that matters, man. We want to put together a team at Electric, and what we've done at Electric is, you know, a lot of that, especially early on, was kind of the lessons I learned at SP. You know, in that first year at Electric, you know, I joined the company when there was like 10 people. There's a lot of figuring it out. And I know for sure, without a doubt in my mind, that single platform was like a massive reason why we were able to be successful in that first year. And I was able to handle, you know, what was being thrown at me. I learned basically almost everything that I know about sales and communication and cold calling. You know, a lot of that came from SP for sure.
It's really great insights. And I know now, you know, Electric is growing so fast. It appears they're, you know, on fire. What was it like, you know, leaving single platform, transitioning out and going to a new startup, a new company after this wild success?
Yeah. So at single platform, I left single platform because I just felt like I eventually moved up from a manager to what they call a senior manager. I had a bunch of managers reporting to me, running around half the sales floor at the time. I just felt like I learned what I needed to learn there. You know, 4 years there is a long time. And I wanted to go and try something different. So when I left and I took the role at Livestream, that was a very humbling, very big wake-up call for me. When you leave something like single platform and you have it all figured out for the most part, you think you might know more than you do. I thought I knew way more than I did when I walked in the doors at Livestream. I knew a lot about single platform. I did not know a lot about a more consultative, a more solutions-based, longer sales cycle, higher ACV sale. So when I did transition into Livestream, I had to learn a lot fast. And, you know, Sam brought me on based on my experience of building out an SDR program. And, you know, I ran inbound SDR team at Livestream and some SMB stuff. And we took a lot of what was going on at single platform and figured out where to place it into the sale, right? But I thought there was one way to sell when I took that role at Livestream. And all of a sudden I was like, wait a second, this isn't going to work here. We got to like figure something else out. So my stop at Live, great, you know, a guy named Dan Brown, who is awesome guy. Sam Jacobs obviously learned a ton from, but like I got, you know, beers with Dan like a year after Livestream, and I told myself if I didn't stop at Livestream on the way to Electric, I would have failed at Electric, no doubt. As much as single platform helped me be really successful there, I would have failed if I didn't make the stop at Livestream because it taught me all of these other things, and I got to learn what I thought worked and what I thought failed. Single platform was read the script, man, and we're going to figure out how to get you to where you need to go. Dynamic thinking, discovery calls, qualification, MQLs, SQLs, this is all brand new. And I mean, that was a massive lucky stop for me along the way. And, you know, I am very grateful for my time at Livestream for sure because of that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think even in the ones that don't go, you know, as well, you're still learning and you're still hustling. And what I've gotten from your career has just been pursue it with 100, 150, 200%, and, you know, let the rest work itself out, which is great. Something that we can all learn, especially in our audience. You take that experience, you jump now to Electric. How are you installing some of the principles that you've learned through your career, and what kind of team are you building?
Yeah. So Electric has, I like to say that we're in like phase 3 of our sales organization at Electric, right? When I first met Ryan and he brought me on, I was, the first sales hire. They had made a couple sales. We had a VP doing some stuff and Ryan was doing stuff, but my job was to come in and build out a team, and for the first year and a half, that's what I was responsible for. So all of the hiring, all of the training, writing the script, making the deck, figuring out who to sell to. And I had never done it before. But that's what I wanted to do, and Ryan will kill me if he hears this, but like, I didn't care what Electric did. I wanted somebody to give me the keys to the car and say like, drive real fast. And I think that when I shared that vision with Ryan, if I want to build a team, I want to do this, I want to do that. That was exciting to him. It was exciting to me, and it clicked. But when we talk about what we're building at Electric now, right? The processes, the script, the way that we did lead generation, the way we did sales ops, the way we did Salesforce, the way we did everything that first year has absolutely been twist, turn, put through the ringer, and we're like a much, much better version of ourselves now. We hired a VP of sales, right, a year and a half ago who I started to report to. It was the best thing we ever did, right? Because again, sometimes I think we all, at least myself, like, hey, look at all this new stuff that you don't know. Right. And being willing and able to be like, wow, this guy is great. And he's better than I am at a lot of stuff. And I'm sure I can teach, DW a bunch of stuff about what we currently do and what works and what we need to get better. But man, this guy's he's done it before. Right. Like he is who I want to go and be in a couple of years. So when we brought David on, we totally elevated everything. Right. We still cold call a lot, and that's single platform, right? Make 200 cold calls a day, create 10 meetings, right? Our SDRs are making 80 to 100 cold calls a day. Our AEs make 40, 50 cold calls a day, right? And
Wow.
We're not afraid to do that because we know that cold calling is alive and well, and it creates revenue. So yeah, it might suck a little bit. But if you make that one cold call and you get a COO on the phone and there are 100 people and they just happen to be looking for IT, guess what? It's worth it, right? So, Ryan Dennehy, our CEO and founder, tweeted something the other day about like how many cold calls we made in like year one. It was some like insane number. You know what? That's what we had to do. And that's okay. I think that's a lot of the single platform piece of what we've built here, and then I think like the live stream piece is like really good discovery and making sure that we're selling to the right people and understanding sales processes and the importance of selling to buyers versus selling to the pizzeria down the street who I know that I'm really good at sales and it's $90. So who cares? He'll do it. Right. I definitely have taken bits and pieces of both and created what we help create what we have now. But again, like it's not a me thing, it's an us thing. And the first year of Electric, it was a lot of what I thought, and then it became, hey, what do we think? And then David came on. It was, hey, collectively, the village keeps growing, right? And when the village gets bigger and bigger and bigger, you're not less important. There's just other people that are really good at specific things. And, we've twisted and turned a ton on process. We're adding a bunch of new process currently. Right. And it's going great. It's helping our team get better. So if our playbook is a living, breathing document, right? I think in sales in general, whether it's prospecting, whether it's the way that you're presenting your service, you're letting that thing sit and get stale. Something's wrong. Right. We got to constantly be reiterating and making things better and improving.
It's very impressive across the board. I'm very impressed for one that you're making that volume of cold calls during the pandemic too. I have seen teams kind of shy away from that. Frankly, I'm not sure that's on trend. I think that's off trend, which is great that it's working. I'm glad. That's awesome.
Hope everybody else stops cold calling. We'll crank it up.
That's great. So a couple more questions here. So you have this kind of crescendo of your career now at Electric. You've taken pieces from SP, from your work at Livestream, and bringing it all together now here at Electric. What's your take on sales, and do you have a sales philosophy?
I think that if you asked me this like 4 or 5 years ago, I would have said like, absolutely. I think that what I've learned is that every sale is a little bit different, right? And that you have to be, my philosophy on sales is that you should have a process and you should have a playbook and you should follow that playbook to the best of your ability. But what you have to understand is that on the road from point A to point B, and we want to get there, right? There's a lot of this, and really, really good salespeople know how to continue to move down that straight line, while at the same time dealing with the things that are going to knock you off the straight line, the objections, the questions, the non-DMs, the contract negotiations, all of those types of things. So while I don't necessarily feel like I have like this is how it needs to work, and I think it's a good thing that I don't have that anymore, because I think that I'm constantly learning so many new things that if you're stubborn and set in your ways, it's not going to be effective. So I think that like my non-negotiables are that we have to have a team who works hard. We have to have a team who's willing to prospect with multiple avenues, whether that's phone calls, email, LinkedIn, social media. I think marketing is incredibly important, right, to bring in buyers. I think that we want to make sure that we're selling to people who are buyers, right, from a time management perspective and from bringing on the right customers. We want to ask great questions. We want to gather a ton of information. We always want to be the expert, right, by being sharp and enthusiastic and the figure of authority on the call. I think those are the things that we preach on a daily basis to our team. Is everybody going to do every one of those every day? Of course not. Right. But I think that if you do as many as you can, or at least they're front of your mind, we feel that we'll have a positive outcome eventually.
So last one for you, knowing what you know now about yourself, what would you go back, if you could go back in time, having the benefit of hindsight, what would you go back and tell, young Matt, fresh off the 24-point performance? What advice would you give yourself about sales, about your professional career, anything?
Run really fast, but be patient. Run really fast, but be patient. I think that the things that have made me successful, I don't consider myself a successful person yet. I think I have a long way to go till I can give myself that breath of relaxation. What's worked for me so far is that I push the agenda and I run through walls, and I try to get everybody, to come with me on that journey. I think what I could have done better early on was realize that like you're not going to snap your fingers and be the future version of yourself, right? Jordan Belfort, who everybody's seen Wolf of Wall Street, obviously has had his ups and downs for sure, but he does have an incredible training seminar when you take it for what it is and it's used the right way. But he talks about this idea of being goal-oriented versus having a vision. And if you're goal-oriented, that's great, right? You're going to go, you're going to hit that goal, and you're going to start over and go hit the goal and start over. Your goal should be a stairway to like this greater vision of what you have, what you want to be, work, personal, all these types of things. So, I think that young Matt in his sales career was like, I'm going to get to step 6 as fast as I possibly can. And I think that when I tried to do that, I missed stuff. And I didn't learn stuff, and I wasn't open to new things because I had this idea of like, this is the fastest way to get there. So I would never stop running as fast as I possibly can. But I think I'm way more willing now to stop and shut up and listen. And, because there's a lot of people out there who are way better than I am, or they're way better at specific things than I am. And this version of me is not going to get me to where I want to go. So I know I got to keep getting better and learning and growing.
Advice that can be used over and over and over again as folks enter the workforce and take it with them for their careers. Matt, this has been a pleasure. We've really enjoyed having you on the podcast. I know our audience is going to learn a ton from you, and some may reach out to you just because they know you're passionate and know that you're such an awesome sales leader, and would probably love to pick your brain. But thank you so much for being here. It's been a true pleasure having you on the pod.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, guys. Appreciate it.